Alright folks, this is a quick video on how to install your wraps. A lot of times I'll take a little hand towel and have it in the middle. A set of horseshoes I have in a box, it's still new, I'm never taking out. So I use that heavy weight in the middle. You can use some clamps like this that you get Harbor Freight once you get it centered, and hold the print right there where you want it, so when you apply it, it only takes just a few seconds. And then you can put the clamp on the opposing side for a minute or two until you get everything centered, because the last thing you want this to do is to move. When you get ready to lay the decal down, you're going to lift up the edge, and I try to walk my fingers across or slide them across when I'm pulling the decal up. If you ever do stretch the decal and you stretch it out of shape at all, just take a hairdryer and put it on the highest heat and blow across it. The one thing you don't want to do is ever let the adhesive touch the adhesive, because if that happens, 95% of the time you're not getting it back apart without doing some damage to at least the adhesive. So once I fold that back, I'll fold 4 to 6 inches back. I don't bother cutting this. I used to back in the day, but that little bits of paper can get in there and get in your print, so I don't like to do that. So I'll just take the backer, I'll fold it under like so, and then I'll just run one of my fingers across and just kind of flatten it out. Again, I'm not touching this adhesive at all. And then I'll just touch the bottom edge with one finger and lift it up, being gentle. And then I always start in the center. I'm going to use the 4-inch squeegee for the first one. I'm just going to come in the center, get it started, and then I'm going to come across. And I'm going to work my way from the center out. And that's just to avoid the bubbles. And again, you saw how that might have laid down. I don't know if you saw it in the video, but you can just lift it back up, because this is pressure sensitive material. And until you put much pressure on it, it's not really adhered. Taking off the clamps, there's no more need for those at this point. The one thing I want to do now is I'm just going to reach under with one hand. I'm going to show you now. Normally I won't lift it up, but when I'm going to reach under with one hand, I'm going to grab this tail end of this decal paper, the backer, and I'm going to do that so I don't want any kinks, and I'm just going to lift it straight up to where I got a wave in it. And as I'm doing that, I'm just literally working my way again. I'm doing about 3 to 4 inch areas. Push it back, this going this way, and then I'm going to work out from the center out, and then I'm going to come back this way, and then I'm going to pull me down another 3 to 4 inches. This is how you work it with this small squeegee. And that, make sure there's no air bubbles. Again, I'm working in the direction going this way so that I make sure that I don't have those air bubbles. And then as I'm pulling it, I'm just pulling off however much I want to work with at a time with that backer. And getting the air out. And you want to be careful when you get around the 6-inch hole. You don't want to put too much pressure on that opening and mess up your get any stretch or anything going on there. So just be a little leery of that. This is air release. Everything we sell is air release for these big decals. So as long as you don't put a lot of pressure, this first pass, I'm just putting light pressure just to get it down, just loose fingers. I'm not trying to really put anything down as far as permanently. And that way, if I did get a significant air bubble in there, the air release on the back, and all the air release is the adhesive on the back of it. It's got a pattern to it that allows air to escape, and that's why you don't want to push it too hard, as I would drag it out. But if something happened and I could not get that air out, you can lift it back up and do it again. This is intermediate car wrap vinyl quality, so you can lift that up and put it back down. If it ever was stuck so good, you got a few minutes before it starts setting up. But if it ever is stuck so good that when you do pull it up, it distorts it, or you notice that it has distorted the image, then just get your hairdryer out, lift it back up, heat it up, and you'll see it shrink right back to the original position. Again, at this point, I'm going to go ahead and hit it with a little more pressure. You're going to go outward from the center and put that extra pressure on. This time I really got my thumb in the middle of the back, and I'm putting down, a fair bit of pressure, nothing crazy. I'm not straining myself to do it, just a good solid pressure. Now either way you go, if you do this with the tool that I'm fixing to use, or you use the circle cutter, you're going to want to make sure when you cut out the circle that you cut it out first. I always like to run my hand around it, and we just did with the squeegee as well. Run the squeegee to it again with that extra pressure, And you could see the hole. If you look at it, you turn the right light, you can see where it's the reflection is not there. And regardless of either way I go, whether I'm gonna use a tool or I'm gonna use a knife, my first cut is I'm gonna hold my blade straight up and I'm just gonna go around that hole kind of quickly. It doesn't have to be super close. I'm not trying to get super close. Again, the first time or two you do this, you just want to take your time, nothing in a hurry. If you go around that, if you want to do it by hand without having the tools, you can, just like I just did, and just get your angle exactly what you want all the way around, and you could be done at that point with your design. And if you're just building your own set of boards or a couple set of boards here and there, this is totally adequate enough. Once you get that angle back and you get that set, you could call that done. For all my boards, I put a reveal on it, and again, this is the Brady's Custom Woodcraft circle cut tool. Cut the circle because you have to do it in one big swoop when you come around, so it can be aggravating at times to get it off. But when it's if you're just doing one set or just a few a year, you might want to just use the edge here as a guide. Again, we've got the tool, the Brady's tool for that, and I'll show you when you see it. It'll just blow your mind. And then the only thing I do, because I do round the corners, there's a little art to using this too, but it's much more forgiving. I about forgot, I do trim these edges back a little bit before I use the tools. Most people don't. I'm just using the edge. You can't turn it in too hard because it'll cut into the wood, but I'm just using that edge and pulling it off. And then I'm going to go back with the other tool and trim it up a little tighter with that reveal I was telling you about. Just trying to get a little bit off there so I can run that tool. Because you can do it without doing this with the tool, and like I said, most people do. I just like to get it a little tight as I can, because what happens is, depending on how that folds, it can change your reveal, because the thickness of that decal with the thickness of the decal with the laminate will change it. So this thing here, you just hold it down flat. You know, I'm not wanting to rub this part on the board itself. I'm just going to ride on the knife itself, and that's how easy it comes off when you get it done. And then I do all four sides, and then I trim the corners. Actually, on the tool itself, you can use this corner or that corner, depending on which one you want to put the radius in the corners, and I'll show you that in a minute. But I use the sharper corner. And I always pull down in a way instead of up, because I don't want it to pull my decal up if there ever is a spot that doesn't get cut. Again, I'm going to use this corner here to do my radius. I'm just going to put it down there, and I'm going to line up the bottom of the wrap on this side and the side on this, so that it's on the corner. You know, so this edge is going to line up with that part of the edge, and this edge that one. And then I'm going to take my knife and extend it out enough that it'll actually wrap around that corner, and it'll leave me a really good edge. Again, the main thing with this is just don't get in any rush. Think what you're going to do and then do it. Get to the next part, think what you're going to do, and then do it that way. You don't, because you only get one chance to cut these. And just that quick. And normally I'll have both of these done in less time than what you just saw. And this one is literally done. The only thing I might do is, you always want to make sure you install this. Ideal room temperature is 60 to 70 degrees. I think the manufacturer says 50 to 90 is ideal, but I like to have around 60, 70 degrees. If you're ever going to deliver these to somebody and they're going to take them right out and play with them, I would take a really good hair dryer or one of those cheap heat guns from Harbor Freight and I would at least make sure I'd go over the edges. But you don't want to get too much heat and mess it up. But if you seal those edges down good, you'll kind of ensure that the customer doesn't lose a print coming off, because it takes up to about a full 24 hours is what the manufacturer says for a full set on that adhesive.